Who has more influence in the USA, Muslim or Jew? Who has more control in the USA? Who is actively taking more action to suppress speech in the USA? Which of these two actively possess nuclear power? Which have the capability to bomb the American homeland? Based on these questions alone, who is the greater active threat today?
Hey friends, welcome back. Thank you so very much for tuning in. You know, I say that with all sincerity because I really pour my heart out on these shows because you're kindred spirits, just like my guest, James G., the founder of True Shield. And I think to any of us who can actually think clearly and love God, we know we're under attack, but now it's really starting to feel like overt terror coming straight from the very top of our own government. But it's not our government anymore, is it? Well, that's what we talk about on this one. The war against humanity that the boomers all seem to support and love. We had some technical gremlins in this one, which made about 14 minutes of the interview completely unusable, but the rest of it was salvageable, so I definitely wanted to share it with you. And there's a little bit of a sound sync problem in the middle part, but that's not for the entire interview. So I truly hope you enjoy this one. Thanks so much for being here. Take a look at what happened at the COMEX Open today. The message? Buy NVIDIA and AI infrastructure stocks. You can profit from your own enslavement. It's your choice, friends. It's absolutely your choice, but may your chains rest lightly upon you. Meanwhile, Trump, the Zionist cuck, well, he desperately wants Thomas Massie thrown out, and he wants Ed the Zionist in Kentucky to be the next congressman of the great state of Kentucky. Well, I wonder why that is. Here's my response to Sam Parker's post reminding us who bought Donald J. Trump.
She loves this country. Her and her husband are so incredible. We miss him so dearly. But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once, I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel, I must say. We love you. Thank you, darling, for being here. That's a great honor.
Okay, now, by the way, guys, just so y'all know, there is a clip of Donald J. Trump and this woman whispering in his ear that if he runs again in 2028, which is completely unconstitutional, she'll give him another $250 million. May your chains rest lightly upon you. Here's MTG on the lies Donald J. Trump is telling about Thomas Massie. And by the way, that election is happening today in Kentucky. Today, as we speak. God help us all if they install the Zionist.
So I just saw a video where President Trump is claiming that Thomas Massie votes for men and women's sports and votes for transing kids and all of this insane garbage that the president is unfortunately lying about Thomas Massie. And here's a quick story for you guys. I thought this was worth sharing. President Trump is going this week, actually, to Mike Lawler's district in New York in support of Mike Lawler. Well, here's some facts. Mike Lawler hated Donald Trump, hated him when he was running for president. Used to make fun of him all the time, mocked him, would come up and make fun of me for supporting the president. Well, I thought you guys should know, if you really want to know about voting records, it was Mike Lawler and 3 other Republicans that voted no to my bill, Protect Children's Innocence Act, that actually makes it a felony to perform gender-affirming care on children, anybody under the age of 18, which, by the way, is one of the president's executive orders. It's a big deal to President Trump. Well, Mike Lawler voted no to my bill, which is taking a hard stance against President Trump and his executive order. And Thomas Massie voted yes for my bill, which is in support of President Trump's executive order and in support of stopping gender-affirming care, transing of children. So the more you know, the more truth you hear, the better you are able to see exactly what's going on. Get out and vote for Thomas Massie.
Okay, one quick word from Thomas Massie, and then I'm going to bring on my guest.
You know, just in case I lose, they gave me the number to call to concede. The area code is Tel Aviv, though.
All right, guys, look, I think he's joking, But I don't know for sure. He might be telling the absolute truth. That may not be satirical. Let me introduce my guest, guys. I think you're going to enjoy this show. His name is James G. He's the founder of TrueShield, TrueShield.me. And we might talk a little bit about the serendipity that led to James being on the show. James, how are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me on. It's a wild time. It's literally a time like pinch me. This cannot be the reality we're living in. Just to piggyback on what Thomas Massey was, or the importance with this moment in regards to Thomas Massey, he brought up a very good point that I feel we all should consider. And if I'm not mistaken, he mentioned this on Redacted and stated that all these influencers should have to disclose the messaging when influenced by money and whom is behind that funding. Otherwise, it's deception for hire. And when it's a political message, that is dangerous without that disclosure. There's a reason in times past, we always saw, I approve this message, or this message was funded by, et cetera, et cetera. But I digress. Sean.
You're spot on. I don't know if you saw Candace's latest. My wife and I watched it last night. But guess what she's discovered? One of these people that continues to defend TPUSA and Erica Kirk and aid in the cover-up of the assassination of Charlie Kirk is what used to be a very obscure YouTube channel called Paramount Tactical. The proprietor is a guy named Gary. And Candace disclosed on her show last night that Gary received nearly $190,000 from the Department of Defense just 2 weeks after Charlie was assassinated. This is one of the voices going hard in the paint against Candace Owens on a daily basis. So you're absolutely right. These people should be legally obligated to disclose that kind of information. And what I want to do right now is I want to pay it forward to my new guest, show you guys this. I posted his latest over on my site, thephaser.com, just today. He's definitely a kindred spirit, and he knows what's up when it comes to Zionism.
Who attacks our faith more profoundly, Muslim or Jew? Who challenges Christ, our Savior, slanders Christ more, Muslim or Jew? Who presents more as Antichrist, Muslim or Jew? Who has more influence in the USA, Muslim or Jew? Who has more control in the USA? Which of these two are more censored in the USA? Who is actively taking more action to suppress speech in the USA? Which of these two actively possess nuclear power? Which have the capability to bomb the American homeland? Based on these questions alone, who is the greater active threat today? Is the threat comparison of the two even close at all?
I'll pause it there, guys. Look, the Rothschilds equal Israel. Epstein equals Israel equals the Rothschilds. Why is Trump so against Thomas Massey? Because Thomas Massey is one of the few that pressed for the Epstein files to be released entirely, including the clients' names. And what did Trump whisper into the ear of someone powerful? Marjorie Taylor Greene? He said, come on, MTG, these are my friends.
Correct.
These are my friends. They're going to get hurt. These are my friends. These are the people on the list. We can't release the list.
That fight to release the Epstein files came directly from President Trump. And I know a lot of people have a hard time with that, but that is the truth. He fought the hardest to stop these files from being released.
You know, you can tell your friends, neighbors, and colleagues the truth about a lot of things, including the Rothschilds and the Balfour Declaration, the Club of Rome, the Council on Foreign Relations. You can tell people about this stuff, the bioweapons masquerading as vaccines, but until they do their own research, they ain't going to wake up. And case in point, the boomers, 65% of boomers support Massey's opponent, the Zionist ad, because Trump hates Massey, because Trump hates MTG. I can't even overstate how important it is. If Massey loses, I think that pretty much marks the end of our country, and smart money is probably long gone from this country, but the rest of us who have stuck around to fight, we got a tall order in front of ourselves. And by the way, the candidate running against Massey in Kentucky, he wants a mandatory draft. He wants to implement a draft, James. So that's the world we live in.
It is utterly shocking. That's where what has us operating at this lesser than actually doing our due diligence. Ultimately, I try to assess this and through a muzzled chat and that experiment over the last few years and asking the tough questions, heading straight and towards the censored topics. Why? Why? Don't we value freedom in this country? Don't we value freedom of speech? Conspiracy and so many of these weaponized words are just that, weaponized words to our own detriment.
Let me play this clip because if you don't think we are entering one of the most dystopic times in American history, well, just wait because it's coming for you. Here's billionaire Mark Zuckerberg.
That I take full responsibility for this decision. I'm the founder and CEO. I'm responsible for the health of our company, for our direction, and for deciding how we execute that, including things like this. And this was ultimately my call, and it was one of the hardest calls that I've had to make in the 18 years of running the company. And a lot of why it's hard is, obviously it has a big impact on your lives. But also, for our mission, we're losing people who, you've really put your heart and soul into this place. And, each of you is talented and passionate. And, each of you has played a role in making Meta the success that it is.
Correct. And corporate America and big tech has absolutely zero loyalty to the plebs. So in this case, Mark Zuckerberg, one of the richest men in the world, just laid off 8,000 workers. This is effective tomorrow morning, folks. Their net income, the company's net income over the last 12 months was, are you ready for this? $70 billion. Multi-billionaire Mark Zuckerberg just let 8,000 people go because they're easily replaced with AI. I'm coming back to you, James. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is affecting everyone in real time, and people who aren't paying attention better damn well start paying attention.
I agree 100%. And I love your discerning and questioning everything. You are spot on. I've heard you many times bring up Dave from X22 report. And I recall, there was a moment in time he served me in stepping out of the propagandist news, right? But there comes a point you graduate that level think because your gut instinct, the lies, for whatever reason, you just develop the skills to seek out the whole truth. So that kind of brings me back to what I was trying to pose a bit earlier regarding what has us in this lesser state of operating. And I believe the propaganda is very powerful, right? The indoctrination, the way families are even being raised and taught generationally now in this country. And when you really step back, you can see all the mechanisms that have really, frankly, infiltrated all of that from our education systems, Hollywood, news systems, and it's developing even narcissistic traits that have us operating as though we know when we don't. We haven't done any research. We're only regurgitating what is spoon fed to us. So from my experience on a muzzle chat, kind of a platform we just have been once again heading directly into the suppressed topics, we have experienced firsthand gotten a pretty good idea as to what they're censoring the most. And anti-Semitism's up there, don't get me wrong. And there's some other isms out there that are blatantly and given moments of time are pretty suppressed. But from my experience, there has been none other that even compares to anything in regards to our health. So I do believe the propaganda and the kind of MK Ultra tactics only go so far. that in fact they have found out. I mean, we have the World Economic Forum, we got Klaus Schwab, Yuval Harari out there saying some very bold things, and it's not, I'm not theorizing here. They're calling us hackable animals, that they now have the technology to control the masses. And when you really look into that, yes, they talk about the power of Ash conformity study comes to mind, and just the sphere of influence, get along to go along type think. Yes, the information, the control of information is very powerful. However, they literally get into nanoparticles, technology, frequencies, things of that nature. So I do believe so many are finding themselves stuck because our overall health, our spiritual selves, our neurological functions have been so attacked through levels of warfare we're just not even acknowledging as real attacks, as real warfare that has diminished our spiritual, neurological, biological selves to such a degree that we're just that much easy, or it's that much easier for them to just overtly control us.
Yeah, that's right. And it's because we are being hit from all sides. It is
All
a
sides.
multi-vector attack. We are being assaulted from every angle. And now the attack is on our energy and our economy, and the
Yes.
AI is stealing the jobs. And Donald J. Trump, when asked about high gas prices in the energy shutdown, says he doesn't even think about it at all. All he thinks about, he literally said, all he thinks about is Iran not having a nuclear weapon. Well, guess what? Israel's got plenty of those, and Israel owns Donald J. Trump, which brings me back to something you just brought up, and I want your thoughts on this. David X22 Report has been on this show several times, and I consider the guy a friend. I mean, we're friendly. And before recording and after recording, he's always cordial, and I thought he was the genuine article. But guys like Dave X22 and the other channel, and we know, do you know that that gentleman was formerly in the military, and I think he had a PR role when he was in the military?
Oh,
And
interesting.
these are the trust the plan guys. And I used to be one of those guys because I was holding out hope. You know what I've been saying is that America needed a hero, a selfless hero. Our last chance was Donald J. Trump. So I kind of went all in on Donald J. Trump because I believed what he was saying, but I said a million times, I don't know what lies in the man's heart. So unless he's a liar, we stand a real chance of taking our nation back under Donald J. Trump. Well, guess what? It turns out his heart is corrupt, and he's been bought. He's been bought by the AIPAC ADL Israel lobby, lock, stock, and barrel. $250 million from the casino lady?
Right.
$250 million from the casino lady, brother.
Well, you
So
bring
what do you
up,
make, by the way, so what do you make of
yeah,
Dave of X22 and we know and the trust the planners?
people naturally are just going to migrate to what works for them. And unfortunately, too many of us are operating at a place we would rather just fully absorb a convenient lie over a inconvenient truth. And you see all those memes and images as to, where the convenient lie leads you right off a cliff, and the inconvenient truth, oh, a challenging path up a mountain, but at the point you're at the pinnacle of the mountain and you see, therefore, the land of abundance and opportunity, which we could in fact have. The fact of the matter is, you bring up something so powerful with X22, and yeah, Dave, whew, like, I'm grateful. It takes being wrong in order to get things right. I'm glad we showed up, and whether we elected or they were, it seems selected, because Kamala, get out of here. It's like they, even how she made it into that position
That's
was
right.
illegal.
They put her in to make it
Right,
so unpalatable that obviously everybody had to vote for Trump. And it turns out they owned Trump.
right. All these projections, no more wars, no wars with Iran, Epstein day one, 24 hours Ukraine, borders, mass deportation. The list is endless. And any one of those, Sean.
Well, you know what the line in the sand is for me? When it comes to guys like Dave, X22, and we know, everybody's just excited because somehow we're going to be like the oil kingmakers of the world, and all we got to do is bomb the hell out of Iran. And meanwhile, the state of Israel, with like 11 or 12 million people, is extinguishing lives and carrying out a genocide in Gaza.
Right.
See, that's where, as a Christian, I have to draw the line because Donald J. Trump has done nothing to stop that genocide. Meanwhile,
Agreed.
Israel is now bombing Lebanon, the West Bank. They've said they want to wage war with Turkey. There's no end to the bloodshed, which leaves me to conclude, James, that this isn't, I'm not being hyperbolic. It leads me to conclude that the Rothschilds, which own Israel, essentially, they founded Israel, 1948, Balfour Declaration, going back to post-World War I. The Rothschilds own Trump. The Rothschilds therefore own this government right now, including the Pentagon, which is why it's $1.5 trillion for the Pentagon, while there's people living in the streets in the United States. And by the way, where did the $39 trillion in debt go? Where did that money go? Have you seen the gleaming cities and bullet trains in China?
No, that's a very good question.
Our cities are falling apart, brother. People are hungry. 39 trillion in debt, 1.5 trillion to the Pentagon, 1.5 trillion in servicing the national debt. What does that leave for we the people? It leaves nothing. Our country is in receivership to the Rothschilds. Like that post I shared. Don't buy silver and gold. That's the message from the COMEX slam down today at the COMEX Open. Don't buy real money to protect yourselves from the collapse that's coming. Go and buy NVIDIA and AI infrastructure stocks so you can profit from your own enslavement. You know, regarding the war against humanity and your Lyme's disease, I'm sure you've heard that Bill Gates is bioengineered weaponized ticks that they're now dropping all over farmers' fields. That's your government, guys. They love you so much.
Right.
They're now dropping weaponized ticks, bioengineered ticks, all over America's farmlands and forests so that you will become allergic to red meat.
Two things happened within the space of a month, and I said, I can't let this story go. I just have to know what is really going on with this disease. And one was I met a CIA black ops guy who said in 1962, the weirdest thing he'd ever done in his whole crazy apocalypse now career was dropping poison ticks on Cuban sugarcane workers. That was Operation Mongoose. So that was the first evidence that we had dropped ticks on a foreign country as a bioweapon. And then the other thing is one of my filmmaker friends went out to Willy Burgdorfer, and in a very long interview, at the very end, he said, yeah, when I investigated the Lyme disease sickness in the late 70s, early 80s, there was another organism there. It wasn't just Lyme that was making people sick. It was, and I was told to cover it up. It was probably a rickettsia. He didn't release all the information, but what he said was confirmed by copies of his lab books and subsequent interviews that I had with him.
Pardon my ignorance, what is the disease you described, the other one? Rickettsia?
So it's a rickettsia. It is the same organism that causes Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and that's the most deadly tick-borne disease in the United States. It also was a germ that was being weaponized by the U.S. military at the time, and they tried to stuff it in ticks.
Did you say that Lyme disease is highly likely a materially engineered bioweapon? I made sure I put in the highly likely. Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you say that?
And that's what the developer of
I
Lyme
want all
disease
of our
said.
colleagues to hear it, Mr. Kennedy. I want them to hear it. You said yes. Did you say that exposure to pesticides?
See what they do, guys? They don't want truth tellers and people who know the truth to be in our government. Why is that? It's because our government has been absolutely 100% hijacked. It's hard to know the things we know, James, the things the audience knows. And there's more and more and more clips of a lot of people on X, primarily women I've noticed, who are awake and have gone down the rabbit hole. And they say now they really don't even want to hang out with their sheeple friends. The friends that can't speak the language, they don't derive any joy from just pretending like things are okay, like pretending these issues don't exist, like going out and partying. Like those days are over for those of us who are awake, because these are serious times for serious people. And I think that's God speaking through us. You know, I had a little voice inside my head that kept saying over more than a year, these are sobering times. Be sober. Be sober and mindful and watchful for what is coming upon the people. These are sobering times. And I think that was the voice of God. Everyone listening, these are sobering times. Get the EMF abatement products to save your family from this assault, and pray. Get in tune with God. Get sober. These are sobering times. Our guest has been James G. from Unmuzzled Chat on Rumble and TrueShield.me. The links are below. James, thanks so much, brother.
Appreciate you so much, Sean.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Friends, if you're still with us, thanks so much. I'll remind you every single day for free. Check us out at sgtreport.com, thephaser.com, and thelibertymill.com. They're back. Sorry, hackers. You lose. Friends, may God bless you and yours. Until next time, bye-bye.